Good evening, good morning, whatever time of the day it is. Welcome to another stream with Galileo. I'm joined by a host of fantastic, brave, courageous activists, real-life activists, most of whom have either left the safe comfort of their living room on nationalist business, or have been broadcasting on Irish nationalist business. So these are people who have are working behind the scenes, creating groups, modding groups, etc. So these are all real life activists, and this is the vanguard of our new movement. So respect due. Now, the subject of tonight's chat is building local communities of nationalists throughout Ireland, and Irish nationalists abroad as well. We won't forget about that. Now we're talking about real nationalists, obviously. So we've got two lads from Galway, Alan Sweeney and David O'Reilly. You're very welcome.
Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah. The two David stood in general election 2020 in Galway East, and Alan has been active campaigning and canvassing on behalf of David and other candidates. We got John McGhee from the National Party, one of the originators of the Tullamore protest against the asylum scam. We got a new guest, first time on our stream, or this isn't really a stream, it's an interview, a roundtable. Michael McCarthy, who some of you may recognise from the Irish Patriots streams, and also he did a great interview with Niall Boylan about ethno-nationalism about 6 months ago, I think it was. Some very interesting ideas. We got Martin from New York, who helps us out a lot behind the scenes, and we got Bon Ree, who's a broadcaster, who's got her own channel. It's called Irish News, isn't it, Bon Ree? Do you want to tell us how people can find that and give us a quick two-word introduction to your...
I've done a few different ones. I was on Irish News, but we're setting up a new one. I'm just brand new one. The name at the moment is called Little Wolf. It's only just started up this week, so we just started kind of getting it up and running. So there's three of us who've just set it up. So it's exciting stuff.
Excellent.
We're going to try and build a new Ireland through it, and just try and get out there and try and reach the people for be a competition towards the main media eventually, and hopefully that's where we're aiming for anyway. So
is this the project that you've been telling me about a couple of weeks ago? We're in conjunction with the
before, because I was asked for American. This one, is the one that I was talking about a few weeks ago. There has been a few of those, because there was one American one who kind of asked me to do a show on theirs, and I was going to do that, but we're setting up our own now, so we've kind of decided to do it. So it's pretty, it's good, it's exciting. So it's good to call Little Wolf at the moment. So
and where can
I will say.
There's a lot of muffling and somebody moving around. Guys, if you think there might be background noise, just mute your microphone if you wouldn't mind. Okay, if there's...
is that better?
Yeah, whatever it was.
Is that better?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's Little Wolf. That's Bon Ree, a broadcaster. Okay, so let's start with the Galway guys, because I see... Okay, here's what I... Okay, we were chatting just before the thing started about the importance of building... Okay, the importance of dealing with things that are within our control and not getting hung up on things that are outside of our control. There's enough commentary about things like coronavirus, what's happening at the EU level, what's happening up in the Doyle, etc. But the question is, can we, the seven of us in this interview, somebody needs to mute their mic there. There's knocking and things going on in the background. Okay, so the importance is to focus on things that are within our control, things that we can actually do things about. So there's a gap in the market for talking about getting activism. Basically, there's a lot of commentary about things are terrible. What are we going to do? What might happen if X happens, or if Y happens, or if somebody does this, or somebody at a high level does this, or somebody does that at a high level. So we're all focused on solutions, and not only solutions for other people to do, but solutions that we as a movement can take place, can get involved with on an individual basis. So the Galway lads, Galway for me seems to be an area that there seems to be a fair amount of nationalist cohesion there, and the nationalists have been meeting up and working together cross-party on a cross-party basis. Or it almost seems in Galway that people don't even worry so much. There's very little. It's almost as if the party lines are blurred in Galway, at least in terms of like collaborating. Can one of the Galway lads, maybe David, I'll come to you, talk us through the history of nationalism, this movement in Galway, when it started, what pulled you together, what works and what doesn't work, and the importance of having some foot soldiers on the ground, what that means.
Well, I can talk, Conor, just briefly. We started to come together really around Dara with the yellow vests. That was about 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then that started to build a bit. I was involved in some of the national stuff with Google protests. But, we started to, then we had the Kinvara Says No campaign. And we started to get to know each other. And Gemma came up and did a live stream, and people started to get in touch. Then we were in the position where Dara was always going to be an independent. And so Galway West had an activist who was leading from the front. And so that's where we started to get to know each other and started to galvanize. Now, as the election campaign came up, we didn't have a whole lot of contact with each other. But as the election went on, I ran as an independent rather than ACI, and that was agreed with Gemma. So, there was 2 independents in County Galway. So that's what led us to really start to get to know everybody else. And in fact, when I was campaigning, I think we had 3 National Party guys, 3 ACI guys, and 3 Irish Freedom Party linked people. They may not be actual members, but that's where their leanings were. And we also had some ex-Renua people helping out. So that's where it went from there. And the parties aren't going to agree really, and they're going to be butting around, but and challenging each other, and that's the way leadership of parties goes. But on the ground, we haven't got enough people for one party to lead the way completely. So we all had to join together, and it took a bit of leadership skills on everybody's behalf, and it took some supportive skills as well. But the group you set up, Conor, was very useful.
Which one was that?
The Patriot group, the Patriot group.
Patriots Galway
groups.
Patriots Galway, the Facebook group.
Yeah, I mean that's really one of the main focuses where we did start to meet each other. But we also met up on the protests. So that's a brief outline there, Conor. I don't want to say too much.
Well, I'm happy for you to keep going because I'm trying to get Alan back into the call. We've just been joined by David Egan. Welcome, David. The Photo Road.
How are you doing? It's good to be on.
We're good, David. David, just check your I sent you a quick message just to make sure that you're on board. Just on the text. Yeah. Yeah, you okay with that? Just give me an okay. Good. Yeah, okay, great. So, David, tell us about did you catch any of what David already was saying there? You're from Galway and you've been working with David. When did you start getting involved with nationalism around the Galway area?
Well, I've always been a nationalist. I mean, going back to my childhood, It was only last year when I got politically involved. Prior to that, I was open-minded as regards who I'd support. But I have very strong views on open borders, mass migration, abortion, crime, and gangs.
That is a problem around Galway, isn't it? Of course. Do you want to talk about the process of coming together? As my impression looking in from outside is that Galway has a lot more. The nationalist activists in Galway are more active than there's a cadre of maybe 10, 20. Would you say maybe more? I get the impression there's maybe 20, but maybe you guys can put me right.
20 is about right.
Yeah.
20 is about right. Galway, East and West. Yeah.
And you guys are active in Galway. You're active in Dublin. You've come up and supported me in my campaign in the Westminster election. 3 of you came up, and I'm very, very grateful for that. And that was a fantastic bonding experience, and that gave me a great, filled my sails full of wind. I have to say, it was a wonderful, wonderful 2 or 3 days. And we took a half day off and went down to Tullyhog Fort, the seat of the O'Neill, the coronation seat stone of the O'Neills, and a quick visit to the castle, O'Neill's Fort, the site of O'Neill's Fort, and the later castle and museum in Dungannon. So it was a bit of a pilgrimage and everything, wasn't it? And also we were out on the streets campaigning. And that I have to say I'm grateful for the rest of my life for that because it really made me feel that there was hope for this movement, that there are real activists out there that care enough to jump in a car and go on and spread the word, because this is what we need.
Yeah, and Conor, you need a good few people, because there's always going to be lads who are going to drop out for a while. Like Stephen, who came up with us, he didn't feature for the campaign. He didn't really back anyone for whatever reason. But I mean, he was still an important nationalist activist. But there was other people to draw on, and we have a lot of single men as well. So those guys are ready to go. They're committed and they're available, and that's fantastic.
How do we replicate that across the country? Because we look at Mayo, for example, and we couldn't say that there are like 20 activists in Mayo. We look at Clare. We couldn't say there are 20 activists in Clare. We look at Wexford. Well, okay, let's not talk about the Southeast. Let's Cavan and Monaghan. How do we? Okay, Alan's going to join us.
We need to have it more structured. We need to get people to join the nationalist political parties and to form commons in each county for their respective parties. And then, let's say, to work with the leaders of these parties and to try and get some alliance within each county, between the nationalist parties, with a view to getting transfers at election time. So, and these commons, there will be the nucleus for building a nationalist movement in each county. Be like what the Irish Republican Brotherhood were years ago, the way Sinn Féin started out in the early 1900s.
I've been reading recently about the 1918 election and the preparations for that. Basically, every man jack was out. Arthur Griffith's Sinn Féin had got hold of some newfangled horseless carriages or motor cars, painted Sinn Féin slogans on the side, and we're driving around the place. I mean, we're talking about a very different world from these days, when if people had a thought that something was made sense to them politically, there was a new departure, then they had no problem with getting out and expressing that to other people. But something has happened in between times along the intervening 100 years. Anybody want to comment on that?
I think people become too smug and self-contented.
Okay, so you talked about structure. I know you've put your money where your mouth is recently. Are you able to tell us about that at this stage, or do you want to keep that under your sleeve?
Well, I joined the Irish Freedom Party yesterday, and I paid about €20. I asked them, can you set up a common in Galway?
Great news. Great news.
Now, I know a few other people in the Irish Freedom Party in Galway, and they're very anxious to get a common up and running.
Mm-hmm. So that's the beginnings of organisation. That's, I mean, there may or may not be a national party common in Galway. I'm not sure if there is or isn't. I'd imagine we would have heard from it by now if there were. So I'm guessing that the Irish Freedom Party common is the first nationalist party, nationalist grouping, patriot grouping party common in Galway. So that's great. I mean, that can be the focus. What are we going to do with the people who don't feel ready to join a common, a political party common, but still want, are still feel and think the way that we do?
You can develop a graduated approach for these people, like get them more and more interested over time, more and more confident, and then over time, then they'll be members initially, and then they can be members of the common, when they be more confident.
Mm-hmm. I think it's
What we're trying to do with the radio is we're trying to reach out, because what we've come to a point is everybody's somewhere in the middle, and the world is being polarized at the moment. So we're going to try and stop that and just trying to reach out, whether they're left, and kind of just say, look, everybody's somewhere in the middle, and stop. The more we're being divided, it's easier to conquer. It's the old thing, divide and conquer and divide and conquer. So what we're going to try and do is to try and reach out to more people who are slightly, on the left, and try and bring them in that way. So that's what our plan is for the radio.
By the way, guys, feel free to jump in and ask questions or ask for clarification on anything that anybody said, or if you feel like. Go ahead, John.
It was in gradual stages that people became so removed from their true selves and veering towards the left. So it's not going to happen overnight. It has to be in gradual stages where they'll be brought back to reality as well. So it's going to be quite a process that won't happen overnight, but little by little, we'll get there.
Apologies about that. Get ready to set up here for you. Yeah, it just cut out me there for.
No worries.
No, I'm back into you again. My apologies about that, guys.
No worries.
That's all I was saying there, Conor.
Go on ahead, John. Keep going there if you want to.
That's what I'm saying. It happened overnight for gone this far left and away from their roots. So it's the same have to be done to get them back. It's going to be in increments, and it's going to be drip feeding to get them back to where they should be. To lose the self-loathing and the hatred of their own people.
I think there's a development job to be done as well as a recruitment job, because there's I'd love to be able to say to David, for example, oh yeah, I'm sure there's 100 ready-made patriots in Galway County and across the two constituency, and it's just a matter of finding them. I mean, that wouldn't that be wonderful? It was just that they were out there already, and we just had to find them and recruit them. But in this day and age, I don't think you can say that. Like there are 20 who have found each other, and then there might be 20 who are the next batch that are coming to maturity as an activist, who are sure of their convictions, but maybe not active an awful lot at this stage, but just need coaxing and need to be brought out by the 20 that are doing things. The great thing is that there are 20 people who are, if you like, at the top of the hierarchy, and really we should, we are, given that we are in a period of ideological war, and in any period of war, the people at the top of the hierarchy are your soldiers. And in an ideological war, the activists, the political activists, are soldiers, and these are the people that are going to defend our nation, defend our people, basically. From the oncoming,
there's actually a very good post that Tahi actually put up, and he was in relation to like socialism and the black fists and red fists and all of that, like, and it's the fact that the people actually see like the current the actual resistance movements, like as being socialism effectively. So like they see socialism as the right way forward, like, and they're very like misinformed in that regard. Like, and because like socialist movements are highly liberal kind of leftist based movements as well, like they're more inclined to be very anti-nationalist in that sort of way, like.
Mm-hmm. So they've got the iconography. They've got all the best tricks, you know, apart from arguments, of course. They've got the best gimmicks. They got the good T-shirts. Che Guevara, a handsome fella with a nice beard. They've got the iconography for the fist, etc. So that's okay. That's one. Where was it going with that? So somebody jump in. Help me out here.
Like a lot of stuff they're doing, it's very similar to what like if you look at like Antifa and all of that, like that was all generated like around the election in America, like the very anti-Trump kind of movements, like in that sort of way, like and that's when Antifa really came to rise in that sort of way. So it's like once you see like groups like that kind of establishing in Ireland and across Europe and stuff like that, like then like that's where you really have to kind of question, like, okay, like where's this influence coming from? Like where's this money coming from? Like it's obviously extremely political, like, and it's not for like actual change more so, but it's just more so as kind of like a political antagonist, like really like.
It just seems to be.
I've remembered what it was talking about.
Chaos. No real foundation behind it. I think it's just a complex they had for being raised so conservatively in the past, and they just want to piss off their elderly parents or grandparents at the family table.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I've been there myself in my younger days. Never got.
I don't think these lefties understand socialism or communism. No, I published 2 books where I describe socialism and communism very, very well, and include references to the Gulag Archipelago, right?
Yes.
By Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
Yeah.
And that details the oppression which occurred under communism and variants of socialism as well. And they don't seem to understand that the state can be very, very oppressive on the left and on the right. Okay, on the left you have communism and state socialism. On the right, then you have Nazism and fascism. Right? We're Democrats. We need to emphasize that we believe in democracy. We're in the center, possibly center right. We're not far right. We're not right wing. We're center right.
You know, I did one of those political orientation tests the other day, and I came out slightly tiny bit left of center, and a tiny bit statist, slightly more statist, maybe 10% left of centre and 20% towards statist as opposed to libertarian. So I mean, to be named, I hear, you know, I'm going to dedicate, you know, I'm going to mention my dear friends Sorka Pollock and Rogan and what was his name, Mark Tighe, in the those rags, those propaganda pieces, the Irish Times and the Sunday Irish Times and the Business Post. And they lie. They call us far right, and so many of us are centre. You know, there's possibly slightly on the right. Lies. I dedicate everything I do to. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you very much. And I'm not going to rest. I'm not going to rest until we start to dismantle the neoliberal edifice that you're backing up in your paper, whether you're aware of it or not. Okay, so from that little dedication aside, let's get back to talking about how we can. Okay, so Galway, we've got we've rule of thumb. We stuck our finger in the air and we said there's maybe about 20 activists. But the good thing is then those activists can. There's an example, a positive. They can act as the positive role models to draw other people forward. And we and how do we engage with the people that are teetering on the brink? And how long might it take for some of those people that are teetering on the brink to mature into activists? Now, obviously, not all of them are going to. And then how can we engage with the people who maybe are sitting at home scared but would love to have the courage to be doing what those other layers, if you like, the fully fledged activists and then the nearly ready to be activists are? How can we get them all
How can I-
really moving up through, if you like, the career structure, like up the pyramid of activism to get to the point where we've got 100. If we had like 100 bona fide activists in Galway, then we could actually think about getting a TD elected, because we'd have a machine to get the word out to the rest of the populace. So how can we do that?
I'll come in there, like Conor. We have two different issues there, two problems. We have a success in that we have 20 at the moment. Probably another 20 have got in touch with us through the campaign. So we've got their names up on messages, and Dave, Egan, and myself have talked about contacting those people and developing the commons. One of the further problems, then the second problem we have is that, and maybe Alan would like to talk about, because you were asking about the nationalists, the National Party in Galway. There's a couple of guys who came out. Patrick and Alan came out and helped us out there. And but then there's a second aspect of the difficulty, is that this needs managing. We have had our little pops and bangs between people, and it is. We've got we have a potentially quite volatile situation, which has to be quite well managed, because we have three different parties, we have two constituencies, we have and we've got to try and organise some kind of basis on which the commons can function. And we have discussed, or I have tried to encourage the idea that this is not going to be an authority structure, because it can be. We can't take authority over the parties. There's going to be a conflict between people's party loyalty and their local activism. So this is something that has to be managed. So I'm going to leave it at that for now, Conor.
And I'm going to go over to John. John represents, what's your constituency again? Offaly, isn't it, John? Is John with us? Okay, we've lost John. I'm just looking at my messages to see if John is. No, okay. Who we got? We got Bonry, Michael, Martin, and David. Michael, let's hear. You're coming in from an area that wouldn't have the same activity level as Waterford. Sorry, as Galway yet. What do you see from could be possible there, or what based on what David what's happened in Galway, or is it possible to replicate that success in terms of getting 20 activists up and running and taking it further and taking it beyond that?
Yeah, I think very, very, very possible. I just want to say, is Bonry still on?
Yes, she appears to be.
Okay. Yeah, I just apologise. I said I was going to get back to her.
Sorry, Michael, I am, yeah.
So, yeah, sorry, Bonry, just apologise. I said I was going to get back to you a few months ago, but I got swept away with my other responsibilities. But yeah, I think the important thing is that we can.
Up and running.
Hello. Yeah, I think we mustn't undermine the good efforts of the political party, the National Party and Anti-Corruption Ireland and what's the other one? Gosh.
The Irish Freedom Party.
The Irish Freedom Party. There you go. Yeah, I was just thinking of the name of the man that runs it, Herman. And yeah, so we mustn't undermine their good efforts. And I'm so glad that they've all stepped up and they've sort of got their own style, and they might not all agree on different things, but we are all on the same team. So We mustn't do anything to sort of fracture these groups, but we must create somewhere where all of these groups can actually, come together and be working towards, bringing these different groups together, because we're all
kind of do a show again.
we're all, we're just all trying to, save our civilization. And I'm thinking, I'm an ethno-nationalist. I'm an Irishman. I'm an ethno-nationalist primarily for my people, but I also recognise the importance of ensuring that all ethnic groups in the world survive and have their own ancestral homelands safe and secure. So I'm very much looking. I'm a peace activist. I mean, I'm certainly not a pacifist, but I've been studying this stuff since I was 9, and I think to me the big thing is education. And I think once the Irish people wake up and realise that they've been earmarked for genocide for centuries, but you can go back 500 years, and it's now very much in the commanding heights. Whether it be all governments in the West have signed up literally to the to the literal genocide of people of European descent wherever they are in the world. They've served their purpose. They've been forced around the world to steal the lands of indigenous people, and now they're no longer required, and so they just have to be erased. And just the social engineering is so effective, but it's been very effective for centuries. And our so-called elites have been in bed with this, whoever they are, this force, and they're very open about it. So so I think to me is education. When you're going into war, first thing you have to do is you have to kind of educate your troops and as to the strength of the enemy.
I have a question for you, Martin.
And then people will wake up and they will get organised. Because fear is the key,
Who's going to do the education? How are we going? We need to we need to educate them to what's going on in the wider world. Who's going to?
Well, just get people reading. I mean, I chat to young folk.
Well, that's where radio and that comes in. It needs to be through everything. It needs to be radio, through everything. That's where we need to get the information out, because there's not everybody who's going to join up into nationalist movement because they're so far left. You have to. It's going to be a slow. Whoever saying this earlier on, and he was right. It's going to have to be a slow. It's going to be a slow process to bring them back in. This is what. Like the on Trina didn't work out that station. I'll just tell you, Michael McCarthy. That's why I haven't been on, because it's a long story. It was to do with Paul. He kind of got scared on some of the subjects we were talking about. So basically, we've got a new person who's going to do the technology. That's why I haven't been on. But yeah, so basically, we've got to just kind of have it in a way people aren't getting scared, or that we can bring more people in. But slowly, because it is. Mm-hmm. Whoever was saying that earlier on is dead right. It's happened. Like I just woke up and I was in a leftist country, an extreme. I must have been asleep for it. But it has been very slow through schools and all that sort of stuff. So it has to be redone again, right from creches to schools. We just have to find an alternative way. Like everything they have to do, we have to do it absolutely from the beginning again and follow what they did, except for do the opposite.
What could one of us do today or tomorrow or this weekend?
If you read my document there that I put out there about a month ago about the Commons, right? Mm-hmm. And I also put a proposal for our own radio stations, nationalist radio stations on YouTube for each county, and nationalist television station for each county on YouTube. So we can bypass the mainstream press and media and set up our own nationalist press and media, have our own radio stations in each county, our own television station in each county, we'll have our own newspaper, the Irish Patriot newspaper, maybe set up another newspaper as well on top of that. And there's a friend of mine who's going to set up a new website called A Scientific Analysis of Open Borders and Mass Migration. Mm-hmm. He's going to do it they're doing it in a very scientific, analytical manner to show that it is a disaster, right? And it's going to use mainstream, reports of the mainstream press and other sources as well to expose what's going on in a scientific and rational manner. So when the left come back at you, they have nothing to hit you with because you're dealing with facts and evidence, And if they want to go to court, if they want to escalate it to court, we can bring it into court, right? And cite the evidence. So you're involved in a propaganda war, right? And if you ever read The Art of War by Sun Tzu, that the first thing you have to implement is the Tao. You have to win the will of the people, the minds of the people, the hearts of the people. That's the first step.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
it's called education.
Go ahead.
Well, really, the first thing is what we should really be doing is looking for bloody good lawyers so that we keep our freedom of speech, because people are being hammered for all sorts of stuff. Kids are being taken off by tussles. So what we really need to do before any of this happens, and that's why people are scared, because things are happening. Like, kids are being taken off mothers for absolutely no reason. There's loads going on. So we easy, what can you add, and make that happen. But we do need to look for lawyers, because they will come after it. Like freedom of speech, they will take it, and we won't be able to even have these sort of conversations.
Hello, Bonry. You're coming and going now.
Yes.
Back. I'm going to ask you to hang up and come back into the call.
Okay. No worries.
Because we're losing a lot of what you're saying, and there's a lot of feedback. So hang up and come back in.
I'll ring in. Okay.
I could hear you, Bonnery. You sound great. So education. I always lean people towards. So much brilliant work is on henrymacow.com. I think he's very useful, and also counter-currents.com. Greg Johnson's site, and I think that's very useful. And I think we just need to kind of replicate what's going on in there and just give it kind of an Irish edge, and get these multiple chapters in each county, so that people can build up friendships and trust and work together and encourage each other.
Hi, how are you? Is that any better?
Yeah, just mute yourself. Yeah, we can hear you fine. Yeah,
you sound great, Bonnery.
Perfect.
So and just know that we are going to win in the end. And that's it. I mean, it's inevitable. We're going to win, and so we cannot allow for any negativity or whinging or whining or division. Just be working together, because we're going to win, because we've got love on our side, we've got truth on our side, and we've got better ideas. And so for the sake of all peoples in the world, the Irish must rise, and the Irish must, be that light unto the nations. And I really believe that it's in us. It's just that at the moment we're a bit of a sleeping giant, and the vast majority of our people are victims to incredibly successful social engineering that's been going on for centuries. And so, it's I just know we're going to win, because we have to. It's a spiritual battle, and I think that's a big part of it as well. Realizing that what we're up against is pure evil, and so we must become as pure and as good as we possibly can be, and keep going forward. We cannot be on the back foot at any time. We have to advance towards contact, and we have to win. And at the moment, it's an information war. It's about educating the vast majority of our people, but understand that they have to understand that we have a massive responsibility, obviously primarily to our own people, but to really to cry out to the world that we do have better ideas. We do have solutions to create a genuinely symbiotic world, because the people we're up against have a complete opposite view, and their end goal is beyond communism, is to completely enslave us and to wipe us out. that's it. And I don't hate these people. That's just their nature. That's they've decided to sort of embrace evil, but we mustn't, because if we fail, it's going to be very, very unpleasant for the vast majority of humanity. So education is the key. I think once people kind of get that and realize what the end game is, and there won't be any bread and circuses.
Absolutely, Mike.
Can I put in there?
But we've got to do this slowly, because if you were to say that to majority, they're going to think
David, you're next.
You have like a tinfoil hat.
Well, I speak to a lot of teenagers, and they don't think
remember, like, and sometimes we forget, like, we say these things, and you actually frighten people, like, kind of, gotta be my sound is terrible.
It is a bit, unfortunately. Yeah, you're coming and going there, Banry. Can I ask you to rejoin? And I'm going to bring David in.
Try it again.
Yeah. David, you were going to make David Egan. You were going to make a point there. David Egan, are you muted? David Egan? No. Okay, David. I can see he's on the call, but he doesn't appear to hear me. David. Okay. What about David O'Reilly? Anything to any response there? Any thoughts or comments? Commentary? Oh, David, you're muted. David, can you unmute yourself? David O'Reilly. David, you're muted. David O'Reilly, you're muted. Your microphone is muted. Okay, now we can get you. Yeah.
Good. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Well, I'll just go ahead that you can hear me.
Yeah.
And just say a big end to the last speaker. I think this is one of the wonderful things about this movement, is that so many of us feel the same way. And, for what has just been said, we don't feel the need to educate ourselves on that, because we already have it. We already have that mutual awareness and recognition. Mm-hmm. So that's a fantastic thing. For me, going ahead from now, we've got the difficulty of trying to brand this whole movement so that all the disparate groups recognize each other, and so that when I go to the door of somebody in Galway, I don't have to say David O'Reilly, Patriot Independent. We're part of a movement that has a candidate running in every constituency. I want to be able to use a word which, like nationalist, or a word that everybody recognizes, that covers all of us. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the challenges we have, to really identify ourselves. And what has been going on a local level, where we've all been participating, we've all been cooperating, I think that has to happen at a national level too. And just as the same as it has to be managed at a local level, it has to be managed at a national level. And I can talk more about that, Conor, now or later. But I've run a few ideas past people about that,
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I think it's I keep coming back to the let's stick with things that are within our control, things that you and I can do, or the people on the call could do, or our audience could do tomorrow. Yeah. As opposed to putting the onus on somebody else. If only these three people would put their heads together, then we would be saved. And in the meantime, let's all sit back and wait for that to happen. Or if only some big donor in the United States would send over $1 million to one of the parties, and we could fund a decent campaign. And then until that happens, we'll all sit back and do nothing. So I mean, let's put ourselves in the circle of what's of influence. What can we do today, tomorrow? What can other people watching this interview? what can we potentially do, or look towards moving ourselves to find the courage to do within the next month? You know, baby steps. What's within the next short period of time for an individual to do?
I'd say,
David Egan, are you there? David is okay. Go on ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I would just say try and establish in your local market town. I mean, my nearest market town's half an hour away. And so I just think try and establish, so that there's a catchment area for that, market town, and just try and establish, maybe put a flyer up somewhere, just to get a sort of a nationalist chapter that isn't aligned with any particular party, but welcomes all. And just a party that is, or a chapter that could maybe have, at least, circulate telephone numbers of members, and maybe a weekly opportunity to meet up. Maybe not everybody will attend. Maybe just arrange for, walks on the beach or up in the mountains or, in the forests, and just kind of a loose social group, maybe. Just somewhere where people can kind of vent and learn and create a reading list for people, and essential documentaries to watch and essays to read. I mean, there's so much material out there that really is very seductive. So it's kind of our kinds of propaganda, which is all positive and wonderful stuff to read, and just But I think trying to establish chapters and not just in one one chapter in each county, but multiple chapters in each county. So I would just say, in your local nearest sort of market town, that's what I'll do, and stick to it. And I can get that running within the next few weeks, and that's what I will do, because I'm a man of the word. So I'll get that done.
Good man.
And
good man.
3 or 4. I mean, I know 3 or 4 people, literally within a stone's throw of where I'm sitting. But yeah. So there's lots, and I sell Niall McConnell's newspaper, the Irish Patriot, which I think it's a good paper. It's a good start. So I support the work that he's doing. None of us
most
are perfect.
of the stories in it.
Yeah,
most of the stories are good stories. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the content's good, and it's only going to get better. And I mean, you've got people like Andrew Joyce writing in the second issue, which is great. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he's a Scotsman, and he's kind of taken over from Kevin MacDonald, really. But yeah, so and so the information is there. So we're not starved of talent within the movement, but we just have to coordinate it and be full of joy. I mean, we're going to spend the rest of our lives doing this, but what a great project! I mean, we're on a mission from God, and to save our people, and to be a light unto all groups, all ethnic groups around the world, and to really. Yeah, I'm totally red-pilled and positive about it, and I love my people, and I think we're going to do it. So yeah, just get that chapter established.
Michael, I love that. That's fantastic. It's a real positive kind of word.
Yeah, we have to be. I come from a pretty intense military background and sports background, where whinging and whining is just not allowed. It's just not allowed. I mean, it's like a cancer, and it's infectious, and it's a dangerous stuff. You do not want to be on a patrol with negative people, because they're going to get you killed. So we have nothing to whinge and whine about, because we have a mission, and our mission is to save our.
Michael. Fantastic. So positive.
Well, yeah, we've got to be. Yeah, we're at war, and when you're at war, you better be upbeat.
Yeah, that's very true.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Let's get the chapters established. I'd say.
Morale is so important. Morale, people's morale, how they feel. That's something you have to work at. With the local, the activists in your local common, you have to encourage, you have to identify possible problems. Somebody has to lead it as well, and and it's you have to have the argument. Those are the things which sometimes have to come first. Have the arguments and then see where you all are. And in Galway, we had to have people who couldn't be on. Some people couldn't work on let's for example, the Galway East campaign. They had to go to the Galway West campaign because there was personal conflict, and that's part of it. And look, there's nothing better than to be free of a difficult situation and be putting all your energy into a positive place where you're encouraged and wanted. So, that's part of building a movement. The other thing is be active. The activism itself, the meeting for the protest, the meeting for the leafleting, having people to come and speak. That's so important because you can invite people then, and you can start to build the movement. And we have important people. We have good guys. We have good speakers.
There's Alan just back in again as well. Yes, you picked up on something very important there, the motivation, and also it's a man management job. It is a man. You gotta I've had to stop people arguing in. What happened? You get tested. You have to develop new capabilities of man management, of HR almost. Like, what the hell has just happened in this chat group? Because I went to bed and people were discussing things, and then I wake up in the morning and there's been a big, in those 8 hours since I was out of the chat, there's been a massive conflagration at 2 o'clock in the morning, and people are saying, "Were you drunk? What the hell happened?" And you can see X has left, Y has left, Z has left. People just scattered, and if you just let that happen, then people just run away, and then that's your movement's gone, because there was obviously a bus stop. I went to bed about midnight, and this bus stop happened about 2 o'clock, and people scattered, left the group, and I had to go around and work out what happened, and then identify the problem. I give somebody a timeout from the group and said, you're insulting people, or you can't be at that. And if you're prepared to say, apologize and accept that's not on in this group, then you can come back in again. The person didn't do that, so the timeout became fairly permanent, and then I had to go around and gather everybody up and say, "Look, guys, come back in again. It's okay." But I had to say to them at the end, "Look, when I'm not around, you guys can sort this out. You guys can time the person out. You guys can say this is unacceptable. You're allowed to do that. It's your group. It's not even my area."
I can actually relate to that big time now, because I'm actually an administrator over a page called Alternative to the EU. And
oh yes, I'm aware of that one. Yeah, it seems to be going very well.
And it was the exact same thing. Originally, there's actually just an awful lot of trolls coming in, just disrupting the general kind of essence of the page. Once you have multiple arguments going on, multiple topics, that's when a group can become very toxic very quickly, and that sort of way. But there is an awful lot of refereeing, there is an awful lot of
refereeing. That's
and that's kind of the way, you know what I mean. And you're kind of standing hinder between them, and it's just okay, if we're gonna have some sort of neutral standpoint here, you have to try to make things civil first,
Mm-hmm. It's all part of the teething. It's the teething pains, isn't it? Or what's the term? The teething pains? Is that the term? Yeah, of a new movement of nascent, organization, people getting together, inexperienced in terms of working together. And who can blame us? Because our society is so atomized. People go to work and they don't know that, they go to work, they travel a long way to commute to work, or they don't work at all. They don't have much contact with other people. Maybe they live a long way from their families. Maybe half their family has emigrated because of the job situation. We're so much more atomized and distinct from each other and separated from each other compared to how we were like 100 years ago when that great campaign of Arthur Griffith's Sinn Féin took place that won the 76 seats and was the foundation of Dáil Éireann. So we got to we got to take account of that when we're setting these movements up, I feel. But
yeah, I mean, we have a model too for this, Conor, going back in our own history. We have high kingship, and that's something I draw on, and I find that a lot of people can relate to it, because what we're very good at doing is operating or had been good in the Gaelic era of operating a kind of authority or leadership structure which involved a lot of different power groups. And so you had shifting alliances taking place under an overall umbrella purpose. And, Tara...
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it is a kind of cultural, spiritual idea more than because in reality, in Gaelic times, the local power was with the local leader and the local people. And when you're operating with 20 guys in a local area who belong to different parties and have different interests, you have to behave like that. You have to recognize that there are different influences, different aspirations, but yet you have to focus always on that there's a cultural, spiritual focus that we're working at. And that's a unifying thing. And that's something we can do right now, despite the situation we're in as a national movement. So I'll leave it at that, Conor.
Mm-hmm. Very good. No, I agree totally. We're coming up to an hour, guys, so I'm going to ask for closing statements, and we'll wrap this up just right about the hour mark. So bringing it back to the topic was building local nationalist movements, or building local communities of nationalists. Do we have any conclusions, any summaries, anything that we've seen newly, or anything that we want to reiterate? Anything that we want to leave the viewers with?
Unfortunately, when it comes to things like that, like we do have to go into the crossfire as well, but and we do have to engage.
Are we talking about engaging with our own people or engaging with the enemy?
Engaging with the general public, which will also be the enemy as well, and that sort of way. And you do have to stand into the line of fire, to get heard and that sort of way. And if you look at a lot of kind of liberal-based movements, like the way they get the message heard is by being out there on the street with megaphones, literally, being in people's faces to get your point across. So if you kind of establish very kind of community-based just Q&As. You could set up a meeting in a village, and it's just okay, if we're gonna have a Q&A, he can throw as many questions as he wants at us. He can abuse us, but at the end of the day, we'll give you the facts and points that you need. And sometimes you just have to throw yourself into that realm,
Mm-hmm. I guess that could work if you had a strong chairman who wouldn't allow somebody to come in and completely disrupt the thing and start shouting and blowing whistles and things like that. I mean, we're all robust enough to be able to take a strong question for sure, but obviously what you'd want to be careful of. Well, if you could get that sort of an environment, yeah, by all means, why not? So, anything else for you, Alan, before we move on?
Yeah, but also I think what Michael was saying, I think it's positive to be positive. If you think of Trump or you think of Boris Johnson, the success, and mainly because they're so positive. I mean, it's also ego, but they are really, really positive. You listen to their talk, America's the best, we've got the best doctors. I mean, people follow them because they are positive. We need and I do agree that you have to kind of engage, but a lot of the time they know this. They just don't want to know it. They want to live. They have a different view of how society should be. They're not all completely stupid. They want a different society. So what we have to do is fight it with positivity. We've got to say, look, this is going to be much better. This is the way, like Trump does. America's the best country. We've got the best this. Ireland's the best country. We've the best this. They really pump in positive, because I think people get scared and there's a lot of negativity. And I do agree that you have to face the leftists. I mean, some of them are bloody nuts, and you do have to. But we need to just be much more positive about it, rather than you kind of, because people do get scared, and that is why the last radio station for me kind of fell apart. People do get scared, and yeah, people do have to be brave, but also positive, I think, and bring people in that way.
Like for example, if you started explaining the cause and effect of what they're doing, like, and the cause and effect of their movements, like, and whatever else, like, so it's like fair enough they could be parading around like Galway or Dublin, like holding up signs saying open up the borders, but like at the end of the day, like, they don't see the actual effect that's happening in Greece. Like, so it's like by them holding up signs, like they're actually being like very inconsiderate towards other countries in a sense, like, but like they don't understand the true cause and effect of their actual motives, like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are 100% full belief that like they are doing things under for like humanitarian purposes, like, but like they don't understand is that, okay, like, it is costing us millions, like it is causing like high costs of just like increase in crimes, like rapes across continents and stuff like that, but like increased violence, like, and it's just things like that where like we just have to find a means of just explaining to them that, like, okay, like we do agree that like we have to look after people, but at the same time, like you are like seriously affecting like countries like Greece, you're seriously affecting countries like Spain, Italy, France, Germany, whatever else, like.
Yeah, I think sitting down and chatting.
I don't think they want to look after people. I think that's what they say. They just want to break down of society. They may say to you they want to say these people. They're not actually interested in those people at all. They just want to break down a society. They want nationalism gone. They want identity gone, and they use the excuse that they're helping these people. They're not. They're not interested in them.
Like for example, like I remember when I was a teenager now, like gay marriage referendum, like that was very rife around, like that was big, like in my time, like, and I know it's like just from talk to people, like even from just having like little jokes amongst friends, like turned into like super kind of PC culture, like in that sort of way, like, and then like it was more so like people were nearly trying to like nearly create like more so an image of upon themselves that, okay, like I'm an acceptable person, like I'm tolerant of everything, like in that sort of way, like, and that's all they want to be seen is more so that image of being tolerant rather than like actually doing anything, like in that sort of way, like,
Virtue signaling. Yeah. What about David and Michael? David, let's come to you and see if for closing thoughts.
Yeah,
David,
I'd like to really back that positivity up, from one of the previous speakers, just to say so much of what we do is reactive. We're reacting to the direct provision. We're reacting to our being silenced. We're reacting to other people in a defensive way. And one of the great things about moving past the Antifa conflict is that we get to set our own agenda, and if you like, take the offensive. And it's so important to be able to talking about taking action, even one of the previous speakers was saying he was in the military, and using a lot of those kind of that kind of imagery. It's important to have a strategy. It's not
a defensive strategy. It's an offensive one. It's one where you're making the decisions. You have something to do. You have something to achieve. You have a target. You have all these things, and that's the difference. We really need to get to the point where we have identified and I don't think we're there yet. I don't think in Galway we're at a place where we can say this is our positive plan for the county. And I think we're a long way from that, but I think we have to get there, and I think we have to get there quite quickly. So just to really encourage and to confirm what the other speakers have said, that I feel those things too, especially that this is, also a battle against evil, and this is a battle, a spiritual battle for far more than what it appears to be. And I feel that all the time, that's my motivation daily. So I'll leave it at that, Conor.
Okay, very good, guys. Look, we're just over an hour and 5 minutes there, so we'll wrap it up. Audience, please, as ever, subscribe. Please subscribe, because I'm going to be doing a lot more of these, and register for register for notifications. That's it. And please comment freely, and let's get some good debates going in the comment section. And if you're an activist out there who's stood for election or canvassed in an election, or set up a protest, or attended protests, or attended common meetings, I want to hear from you. Please get in touch in the comments, and we'll work out how you can get in touch. Maybe you'd consider coming on board and joining one of these roundtables. So that's it for tonight. Leave you with a question, Ihoy. Thanks to our our wonderful contributors, the best of men, the best of Irish men and women, true activists, every one of them. And these are the people that we need to celebrate. This is the vanguard. These are the people that are going to help us win under their leadership, we're going to win the country back. So, overnight, guys. Ihoy.
Okay.
See you guys.
I'm going to hit the stop.